The human doctors stepped onto the platform with a mixture of awe and mild panic, their boots echoing against the metal floor of the alien research station, which floated like a jeweled satellite above the swirling clouds of a gas giant. The airlock hissed closed behind them, and immediately a subtle vibration ran through the floor as though the station itself was breathing or laughing at them. They were greeted not by a horde of alien scientists, but by one figure, slender and tall, with skin pale but almost luminous, eyes that shimmered like liquid silver and long, pointed ears that twitched with every minor sound. She regarded them with an expression that was equal parts curiosity and amusement, her posture loose, elegant, and deliberately theatrical, as though she were watching a performance she had already written in her head. The first doctor, an older man with a nervous cough, attempted a formal greeting, which the alien woman answered by mirroring him, bowing in a comically exaggerated way that made his knees buckle slightly. A few giggles escaped from the younger assistants, and the older doctor's frown deepened. The alien clearly had a sense of humor, and she was not shy about exploiting it. The translators blinked as if they were processing a joke in slow motion, and the alien woman leaned closer, her long ears brushing a console that emitted faint holographic pulses. "You all look like you just stepped out of a gravity simulator," she said, her voice melodic and teasing. The words were not meant to be understood directly, they were a puzzle in tone and rhythm, but the doctors sensed that she was testing their reactions. One brave intern, hoping to earn points for courage, attempted a human handshake. The alien's long, dexterous fingers wrapped around his hand in a way that sent sparks of harmless energy through the interface between them, giving him a tiny shock. He yelped, and the alien woman tilted her head, clearly delighted. Laughter erupted spontaneously from the other doctors, a sound that carried across the metallic walls, bouncing back in distorted echoes that made the alien lean forward, ears twitching with visible delight. "You humans really are something," she said, tapping a finger on her chin and producing a holographic swirl of light that shaped itself into something resembling a cartoonishly exaggerated human brain. "Do you always require so much drama for first impressions?" The doctors exchanged uncertain glances, one of them whispering that this might not be a diplomatic alien, but rather a trickster with access to quantum-level pranks. And if that was true, then they were hopelessly outmatched. Yet the humor was disarming, a shared human-alien amusement that immediately softened the tension. Even the gravimetric instability beneath their feet seemed to pause for a moment, as though the station itself leaned in to witness the absurdity. Attempts at direct communication proved frustrating. Speech translators produced garbled sentences that made little sense, while thought-sensing devices pulsed with chaotic patterns. The alien woman, clearly amused, used her long ears to tap across sensors, causing holographic displays to flip, spin, and occasionally emit small bursts of light that spelled nonsense in every language the doctors had studied. A holographic cat appeared at one point, made of shimmering particles that rearranged themselves into a human face, which promptly winked at the doctors before dissolving. One of them, a sarcastic young neurologist, muttered, "I think it's trying to tell us something about feline supremacy," which caused a ripple of laughter. The alien twitched her ears and said something that made the lights flicker in a sequence that, while incomprehensible, felt like a cosmic punchline. Gradually, the humans realized that humor was not a distraction but a key. Every joke, every playful poke seemed to reveal an unexpected door into her consciousness. When the doctors attempted to simulate simple human emotions, curiosity, surprise, joy via projected holograms, she responded by reshaping the simulations into surreal vignettes. Gravity-defying tea parties, floating libraries where books quacked like ducks, and holographic dances where the participants had heads shaped like geometric solids. Each of these absurdities provoked laughter, which in turn opened small cracks in the aliens' mental barriers. The doctors began to see that what had seemed like chaos was actually a form of communication, a language woven of whimsy, unpredictability, and perception beyond the human norm. One doctor, trying to take notes, accidentally knocked over a floating data pad. It spun in zero gravity like a comet heading straight for the alien's head. She caught it midair with her ear, tossing it back with a perfectly timed flick that sent the pad spinning around the room in a slow, theatrical orbit. The humans stared, mouths agape, and she grinned. "You'll need better reflexes than that if you want to understand me," she said, a teasing lilt in her voice. The room erupted into more laughter. That moment crystallized the approach the doctors would need: empathy, patience, and the willingness to engage in playful absurdity. They were beginning to understand that this was not a simple exchange of words or data, but a negotiation with a mind that valued mischief as much as thought. By the end of the initial session, the human team had established a delicate rhythm with her. They were still outsiders, fumbling and clumsy, but the laughter they shared had softened the distance between species. Holographic displays began to respond predictably to subtle cues, sensors hummed with synchronized light patterns, and the alien woman allowed brief glimpses of her thought processes, flickering in brilliant, multicolored arcs across the chamber. The doctors realized that they had opened the first portal into a consciousness unlike any they had encountered. And as the alien tilted her head, long ears brushing a floating ribbon of light, she whispered with a teasing grin, "You may survive this after all, humans. Let's see how clever your minds truly are." The platform hummed beneath them, the gas giants swirling below in majestic storms, and the human doctors exchanged glances. For the first time, they felt not fear, but exhilaration. The game had begun, and the rules were written in laughter, curiosity, and the impossible logic of a mind that was almost, but not entirely, human. They stepped deeper into the chamber, ready for the next round of absurdity, experiments, and discoveries that would define the delicate art of unlocking an alien mind. The human doctors returned to the chamber the next cycle, boots clanking lightly against the metallic floor, their nervous energy softened by a shared sense of amusement. The alien woman awaited them, lounging in a chair that hovered like a bubble of liquid light, her long ears curved in a lazy arc as if she were drawing invisible patterns in the air. She greeted them with a mock frown as though annoyed at their delay, but when one of the interns quipped that he had gotten lost chasing a floating coffee mug, her laughter resonated in tones that felt almost musical. The room seemed to pulse in response, walls shimmering as if the station itself enjoyed the joke. They began the day with small exercises, projecting human thoughts into simulations, testing for immediate reactions, and attempting to trace her responses. Each attempt was a negotiation with chaos. The alien woman would twist their carefully arranged holograms, turning a scene of human camaraderie into something bizarre, a picnic where sandwiches floated upside down and dogs recited poetry. The doctors learned quickly that patience was as critical as intellect, and humor the glue binding them to her understanding. A young neuroscientist attempted to introduce a simple puzzle, expecting the alien to solve it logically. She studied the floating geometric shapes and then, with a mischievous twitch of her ears, transformed them into dancing letters that spelled out teasing phrases like, "Do you humans ever sleep?" The intern froze, realizing that logic alone would not suffice. He laughed nervously and the alien mirrored him, her eyes twinkling, ears flicking rhythmically, as if marking a beat in a shared melody. This interplay of unpredictability and amusement began to reveal patterns. The alien's mind responded to playful chaos, reward through absurdity, and empathy expressed in tone and timing rather than direct content. It was a language built of anticipation, reaction, and subtle social mimicry. The doctors began to mimic her style, exaggerating their projections, adding absurd sound effects, and even inserting snippets of exaggerated human behavior, flailing arms, melodramatic sighs, mock-dramatic fainting, all of which drew laughter and, crucially, access to hidden corridors of thought. The team introduced neural sensors that projected glowing threads from their minds into hers, but she refused to be confined. Threads became tangles, sensors flickered in midair. Her long ears brushed them away with precise movements that somehow felt like choreography. "Is this some human form of flattery?" she asked, teasing, and the sensors pulsed as if responding. The holographic displays reflected snippets of memory, some mundane, a meal shared on a distant planet, but others impossible to translate, sequences of emotions wrapped in color and sound. One doctor commented, "I think she dreams in symphonies," and the alien's ears twitched in amusement, as though acknowledging the insight. Humor, they realized, was a probe and a shield at once. Every joke or absurd scenario that elicited laughter opened small gates to her memory and perception, while laughter itself built trust. In the mid-session lull, a minor accident occurred. A floating data cube slipped from the grasp of an intern, spinning toward the alien's head. With lightning reflexes and an amused hum, she caught it between her ears, flipping it midair with a flick that sent it spinning gracefully back to the humans. "I hope your reflexes are sharper than your predictions," she quipped. The team groaned and laughed in equal measure, realizing that even mistakes were now part of the dialogue. They had to treat missteps as invitations rather than failures, creating a collaborative rhythm with her. Each absurd failure, each joke, and each playful manipulation of projections revealed patterns of thought, preferences, fears, curiosities, without the alien ever surrendering control. It was a dance of cognition where both sides learned the steps in real time. Later, the doctors tested synchronized simulations of emotional experiences. They projected scenarios meant to elicit curiosity, surprise, and joy. The alien woman responded by warping them into surreal spectacles. An interstellar race where gravity reversed at the finish line, floating libraries in which books sang in choirs, and holographic humans writing comet tales while sipping tea. Every transformation was met with laughter from both sides, laughter that became a tool to measure comprehension, empathy, and engagement. Patterns emerged. She responded most strongly to shared absurdity, and humor often led directly to her inner thoughts. A sarcastic remark from the youngest intern about a simulated intergalactic bureaucracy caused her to emit a pulse of light that mapped a section of memory previously hidden. The team realized that cognitive barriers could be approached indirectly, with indirect probes that disguised inquiry as play. By the final hour, the doctors had assembled a preliminary mental map of the alien's consciousness. Threads of curiosity intertwined with corridors of humor, areas of memory connected to specific forms of amusement. Emotional responses followed rhythms akin to musical notation rather than linear thought. The alien watched them with a mixture of fascination and delight, ears flicking, eyes glittering. "You humans are surprisingly patient for such fragile bodies," she remarked, as a holographic model of a space whale swam lazily through the room, spouting glowing bubbles. The team laughed, and in that shared amusement, they understood that connection required more than technology. It required intuition, timing, and a willingness to abandon rigid expectations. As the session closed, one of the doctors suggested a final test: simultaneous thought projection, where human and alien minds would briefly share a synchronized interface. The alien agreed, eyes narrowing playfully. "But only if you promise not to faint at first sight of my thoughts," she teased. The team entered the interface cautiously, their consciousness brushing against hers in a tangle of sensation, thought, and light. Chaos erupted as private memories, fears, and comical imaginings collided with human cognition, and laughter once again became the bridge between species. They glimpsed hidden depths of her mind. Curiosity about humanity, anxieties about unknown dangers, playful imaginings that defied reason, and a willingness to form connections that transcended logic. When they withdrew, the alien leaned back, her long ears brushing against the energy field of the chamber, eyes sparkling. "Not bad," she said, grinning. "You humans are slowly catching on. Keep your humor sharp, your minds sharper, and perhaps I'll share more than just tricks and jokes." The doctors, exhausted but exhilarated, realized that the labyrinth of her mind had begun to reveal itself, not through force, not through technology alone, but through empathy, ingenuity, and a willingness to embrace absurdity. They stepped back, laughter lingering in the chamber, ready for the next stage, truly understanding an alien mind without losing themselves in the process. The human doctors entered the chamber with a mixture of anticipation and nervous excitement, their previous experiences shaping each step they took. The alien woman awaited them, suspended in a halo of softly glowing energy, her long ears curved with exaggerated elegance as if she were already composing a silent symphony of mischief. She greeted them with a teasing tilt of her head, a faint quirk of a smile playing across her lips. "Today," she said, voice lilting like silver bells in a zero-gravity wind, "we shall see how clever you truly are." The humans exchanged glances. They had come a long way from awkward handshakes and floating coffee mugs. They had learned the delicate language of humor, absurdity, and empathy, and now they would test the limits of their connection. They initiated the synchronized consciousness interface, the chamber filling with holographic tendrils of light that wrapped around their minds. Immediately, chaos erupted in a kaleidoscope of sensation. Memories collided, human and alien alike, creating flashes of images. An interstellar parade where planets wobbled like jelly, a cat that recited poetry while floating through zero gravity, and a memory of a lonely childhood afternoon on Earth transformed into a glowing dreamscape. The alien woman's laughter filled the chamber, musical and contagious, and it mingled with human chuckles, creating a rhythm that steadied the interface. One doctor muttered, "I think we're going to need a manual for this," and she quipped, ears twitching, "Manuals are so dreadfully literal." As they navigated this mental labyrinth, the humans began to sense not just the alien's thoughts but her intentions, fears, and desires. Hidden corridors of memory revealed longing, curiosity, and hope emotions that resonated across species. The alien occasionally inserted playful diversions, such as turning a memory of a human breakfast into a zero-gravity pancake battle or animating a holographic elephant that recited Shakespeare. Each absurdity, each joke became a key to deeper understanding. The doctors realized that humor was not a distraction but a bridge. The more absurd the scenario, the more genuine the connection. They laughed, played along, and allowed themselves to become part of the alien's world, their minds stretching to accommodate patterns and perceptions beyond human logic. One doctor, the youngest of the group, noticed a section of her consciousness that pulsed with a subtle, rhythmic pattern. Curious, he initiated a mental projection, gently matching his own neural signals to hers. She responded with a ripple of light that danced across the chamber, and suddenly they were sharing a memory neither had anticipated. A serene landscape of floating islands, where creatures of impossible shapes roamed beneath a violet sky. In this shared vision, they discovered mutual fascination, her desire to understand humans and their drive to comprehend her mind. The interface blurred boundaries, creating a space where species did not divide, where curiosity and empathy alone dictated interactions. Amid the chaos, laughter, and surreal imagery, the humans began to notice their own transformations. The older doctor, once rigid and procedural, now moved fluidly through absurd mental landscapes, anticipating playful twists before they happened. The intern, who had been hesitant and awkward, now matched the alien's wit with teasing holographic pranks of his own. They were not just observers, they were participants, co-creators in a shared consciousness. Humor, they realized, had taught them humility, patience, and the subtle art of listening beyond words. The alien woman, for her part, seemed to recognize these changes, her long ears twitching with approval, eyes shimmering with something akin to pride. As the session reached its apex, the alien initiated a complex weave of thoughts designed to test the human's empathy. It was a scenario where failure was impossible, but insight was rewarded. They navigated memories of isolation, curiosity, and vulnerability, each step accompanied by absurdity. A holographic frog that recited physics equations, a floating teacup that winked at them, and a mock interstellar tribunal where they were both judge and defendant in a cosmic comedy. The humans responded with ingenuity and laughter, discovering patterns within chaos and uncovering hidden aspects of her mind. In return, the alien revealed long-guarded memories, not through language but through emotion, gesture, and the subtle currents of thought. By the end, the interface had become a shared space of understanding, a tapestry woven from empathy, humor, and mutual discovery. The interface gently disengaged, and the chamber returned to its normal rhythm of soft light and humming energy. The alien woman floated serenely, ears curved gracefully, a faint smile on her lips. "You have learned more than I anticipated," she said. "Not just about me, but about yourselves." Humor is a powerful tool, but empathy, the ability to listen without needing to control, that is your true strength. The human doctors nodded, exhausted, exhilarated, and transformed. They had ventured into the mind of a being far beyond human comprehension and returned with understanding, connection, and laughter intact. In the quiet that followed, one of the younger doctors asked, "So, what now?" The alien's grin widened and her ears twitched as she leaned closer. "Now," she said, voice lilting, "now you explore, you learn, and you never forget that the universe has a sense of humor. And that sometimes the most profound discoveries come wrapped in absurdity." The humans laughed, realizing that their journey had changed them. They had unlocked not only her mind but a new way of seeing consciousness itself, a perspective that bridged species, dissolved fear, and celebrated curiosity. As they prepared to leave the chamber, the alien waved a long-fingered hand, ears curling in a gesture both playful and affectionate. "Return soon," she said. "There is still much to explore, and I have far too